Welcome to the System Simplified podcast, where we feature top leaders who share stories on how to successfully systemize a business. Now, let's get started with the show.
Hello, Adi Klevit here, the host of the System Simplified podcast, where I feature top founders, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders about systematizing a business. And today's episode is being brought to you by Business Success Consulting Group, where we create, document, improve, and implement processes and procedures so businesses can grow and thrive. And today's guest is Kim Angeli. Hi, Kim.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing excellent, as always.
Awesome. And I am so excited to have you on this podcast. You know, my good friend Bob basically recommended that I have you. He said, you have to have a conversation with Kim, and also Jeff West, who I just interviewed as well. They said, you have to have a conversation with Kim. She's fun. She has a lot to talk about, and she can teach a lot to our listeners about basically referrals, gratitude, and a lot of basically good practice, best practices in terms of retention of clients and customers. And Kim, I know that you don't just talk the talk, you walk the walk, which I love. I tell our listeners and I tell people that I meet the same thing. Like, they ask me, what's unique about your business idea? I said, well, you know what? We have everything documented. Well, of course, not everything, because I tell my clients it's never a finished job, right? I mean, it's always a continual process. But we apply what we preach, and you do too, and I really appreciate that. So we're going to talk about how to use gratitude, but genuine gratitude, in order to make sure that you get more, in order to actually get more referrals, in order to get retention, etc. And you are a very successful entrepreneur. You've been doing it. You've been an entrepreneur for over 23 years. You had an insurance agency and you sold it very successfully in 2015. Is that correct?
The beginning of 2016, yes.
Beginning of 2016. And then you are continuing with your coaching business, where you actually teach clients your methodology. And that's what I'm really curious about. But first of all, tell us a little bit more about yourself, about your journey, and anything that I missed from the bio.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on. And thank you to Bob Berg, the Go-Giver, and Jeff West for having referred me to you. So I was not always walking in gratitude. If you'd have met my 1999 version of myself, I might have, spewed some not nice words to you when I had a $65 million quota with Cisco. But in 2010, I had a really challenging year. I dusted off a book from Jack Canfield, The Power of Focus. And in that book was the habit of gratitude. And so I started applying gratitude to my life, because I think you think, oh, I'm grateful, but there are different levels of gratitude. Like, there are people that say they're grateful, but then their actions speak louder than words. And so I tell people, my whole mission that I wrote in 2015 was to inspire grateful living. 1 million people choosing grateful living. And I do that through the lens of the entrepreneur. I tried one time to coach someone who didn't own a business. And I said, either I'm going to give you a refund or we're just going to discontinue this, because I love entrepreneurs. I grew up with them. My parents were entrepreneurs for 50 years. They also had an insurance agency. And so a lot of the things they taught me, I teach business owners. And I'm always coaching and consulting entrepreneurs on how do we work so hard to get a customer, and then we get them and we're like, and then we ignore them.
Absolutely. So, I agree with you. That's totally, because the journey just began, right? It's kind of like, building a marriage. I mean, you can court, you can date, you can propose, have like the most beautiful wedding. But if you don't continue to create and not continue to basically day in and day out create that relationship, then nothing will happen. I mean, it will basically break.
Right.
Apart. So absolutely. Kim, what's your definition of gratitude? It's a word that is being thrown out there, and sometimes I feel that it's being thrown out there as also, well, I know I need to be grateful, right? Now I'm supposed to be grateful. But you definitely embody it in terms of like being very honest and genuine about it and get results from it. How do you view gratitude? What's your definition?
So to me, gratitude in its most simple terms, not the defined, is focusing on what's going well. Right? We naturally focus on what's going wrong. And when I say you're really truly walking in gratitude, where gratitude is your default setting, it really is how you show up in life, is when we can be grateful when everything's, rainbows and gumdrops and all that. But when you're really choosing grateful living, you are grateful for some of the darkest moments of your life. And so even when my parents were dying, even when I was navigating through that journey, I was still choosing in some of the hardest days of my life, what went well in that day, and let me focus on what's going well and shift and keep my vibration and energetics. For all of you science people out there, is gratitude is not woo-woo. You can actually measure it. It's 900 megahertz. It's right under God consciousness. And when you're living at that vibration, just like right now, before this, I had to go to the postal annex, like to mail something. And so my whole goal is to be love and light and to leave the place where I went to in a better place. And I watch people, and there was a woman there, and every moment that she spoke, she was speaking about what was not going well in her day. And I thought, you're just attracting chaos to your life because you're speaking negative. You're attracting, we get what we speak, we get what we think. And my father taught me a long time ago is, Kimberly, don't grieve over it. Move along. Don't sit in it. And so a lot of people drag around fear and worry and drag around their chaos. And they're like, oh, why is my life so chaotic? And I'm like, well, hello. And so it's shifting the perspective of, even when life is yucky, I can come up with something that is going well, at least one thing in that day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Kim, I'm all about systems and processes, as you know. And I would love to hear the system or the process that you teach your clients, the methodology behind implementing gratitude in their business and in their lives and in their relationships. Because it is one thing to shift your mindset, and I think this is the most important, right? But then you have to, in order to execute it, you have to have some methodology to it that you actually apply day in and day out until it becomes a habit, right?
Right. Well, the first thing is they have to move, if they're a transactional mindset, they have to move to a more grateful mindset, a more go-giver mindset, not what's in it for them. How are they serving people at their highest self? That none of it really works if they can't shift the mind. They have to decide, I'm going to do this, right? Because I could tell them how to do it all day long, but until the action is taken and something is sent out in the mail or the gratitude call has been placed, none of it works. It's like me thinking about working out. Yeah, no, not going to work for me. So
that's exactly, that was actually, I was going to give that example. I was saying, okay, yeah, you can have the mindset, I'm going to work out, I'm going to be in the best shape I've ever been. But in order to implement it, you have to have some kind of a process, like, set up your alarm clock to 5 a.m. So you actually get out.
Right.
Put your workout clothes out there. Force yourself. I have a trainer who said, okay, show up. And then you're gonna, because once you show up and you start working out, then you start feeling good and you just do it. Now I do it because I know that, I feel really good about it. But let's say I travel and the routine goes out. It takes a while to get used to it again. So you just have to, first of all, force yourself to do that. And then it becomes natural.
Well, it becomes who you are. It becomes a habit. What I learned really early on, I always wanted to share everything I did in gratitude And I'll give you an example, but I've learned that if someone's never shown gratitude to their current client base now, and I really focus on beyond the transaction. A lot of people are really good at getting clients. They're really good at, however they get them and networking and all that. The biggest gap that I find, which my gratitude action plan solves for, is the beyond the closing table, beyond the policyholder, beyond the transaction. The money has already been exchanged. And so what is the process after that? Or what is the process for people who've actually connected you, thought enough of you, connecting you to their network, connecting you to their Rolodex? And, we don't have them anymore, but they thought enough of you to take time out of their day. Is that the first step? And this is going to seem so simple, but it is the hardest part for my customers, is ranking relationships. And I don't say customers, because there's some relationships in your life that might not ever exchange money or buy anything from you, but they are the great connector, right? And I use this example a lot. One of my biggest raving fans, brand advocates, brand ambassadors, whatever you want to call them, his name is Barry, and Barry's retired. But Barry is someone where wherever Barry is, I may as well be there, because if he hears someone maybe having a pain point or something that I can solve for, he's going to stop his life and go over and say, I'm going to connect you intentionally to Kim Angeli. I don't even have to be there. He's like this unpaid salesperson in my life that knows the value I bring to the table, and he will do whatever it takes to connect me. That's an A relationship. A lot of people have these relationships in their life. And one that I've worked with for the last year, he had a relationship like that. And I pull the data, a private client, concierge consulting, I'm saying, give me the data and let's work through it. Who are the relationships in your world that you're just not aware of? And one of them, I was like, what's this guy's last name? He paid you $100,000 last year in services. Who? What? He didn't even know have his last name on the spreadsheet. But yet there was a revenue of $100,000. And I was like, what is happening here? So what's happening is we bought into the shiny object syndrome of ClickFunnels. And I'm not saying any of this doesn't work. I'm just saying we've lost sight of SEO, ClickFunnels, spray and pray marketing. We bought into all this. When I really look back, is where are we intentionally connecting with people who really, really know what we do, and we could serve them better and be connected through them. Some of these business owners, my friend, don't know their names. They have no deepened relationship with them. And when I say, it's really 25 to 50 A relationships that you need to nurture on a consistent basis and stay top of mind and invite them and add value to really drive revenue. A lot of you have bought into energy sucking activities that, if I look at it and drill down into it, it is not bringing you fun. It's not fun. It's not profitable, and it's not clonable. It's not duplicatable. And some of
those activities, Kim, I'm curious.
Well, I would say, for example, I have people, they're like the networking ninja. They go to every networking event possible. And I'll say, make a list of all the things you've been participating in, and then tell me where your last 5 clients came from. Okay, so they've given me the list of what they participated in, networking events, BNI, lunch and learn, like all the things. They're running around, they're crazy. They have no time in their day, they're miserable. They're not having fun. They're networking to network, not networking to connect or be intentional. And I say, okay, so here's all the things you've done. Where did your last 5 clients come from that check these boxes? This is my biggest homework question. They were fun. If they called you, you would love to answer the phone. They were fun to work with, right? They have to check that box, or we're not going to put them in a nurturing gratitude action plan. They were fun. They were profitable, and there's enough of that kind of ideal client that you could build a business if you want to be if you want to have a niche, because I teach niches to riches. So they are clonable or duplicatable, or you could rinse, repeat revenue those people, and you enjoy working with them. Where did they come from? And do you know what happens?
They don't come from those busy activities
No.
they do.
No. And what I realized looking at my business in the last 12 months, because I dissolved a business last year that was not fun and was not being profitable. And so I decided to focus on just my Kim Angeli consulting, which I was running with no marketing. And basically most of my clients that I love to serve, the common denominator with them is one thing. They're not on social media. But where was I spending energy? Social media. So when people stop and take a breath and we look at data and we look at facts, they're like, I had one girl, she said, why did I buy into all this? I said, because nobody sat you down and asked you those questions. We want to fill our life with fun and profitability and systems. When I was with my mother, so in my mom's last couple of years of her living, she passed away in November 2022. When I was in the hospital with my mother, and I am called at a higher self I do have influence on Facebook. I do post gratitude every day because I have people that say, what you post helps me change my mindset. So I do that. They might necessarily not be my customer, but I'm not attached to that. So they saw that I was in the hospital with my mother, but they were still getting the touch points in the mail that I had already set up via systems to go out when Kim was doing life. And that is the key. It is not the one-time fruit basket, my friend. It is not the one-time thank you note beyond the closing table. It is the consistency of sending it in the mail or making the gratitude call consistently and doing the things inch by inch every week and setting up the systems that run without you running them. Whatever that is for your business, it could be different for everybody, but it has to be done. There has to be a direct responsible individual, pretty much not the owner of the company, that is going to handle that and run it, or you have a system in place.
I love it. So it
has to run without you. You
Absolutely.
have to be able to do life. Right.
Absolutely, because otherwise you become a slave to it and it's not fun. I love how you say it has to be fun. So I'm curious. Okay, so we talked about the mindset, you shifted from transactional to gratitude. You definitely have to assess what you're doing. I mean, you have the qualifications, the checklist, it has to be fun. The client has to be fun. They have to make you, so tell me the checklist again. So fun.
It was fun. It was profitable. Like, I'm not running a nonprofit here. I mean, even nonprofits need to be profitable. It was profitable. You generated revenue, and that there's enough people, like that person is a center of influence. Like Bob and Jeff and I teach center of influence. So one of your top A relationships, if they're a center of influence, like Barry, my center of influence, my raving fan, my top relationship, one of them. He was Matthew's Man of the Year. He's very influential in the community, right? So, or if let's say you have a client that is, let's say your focus is dentists. Okay, so you can find more dentists through that one dentist. Absolutely. Right? Because dentists hang out and there's an association for everything. There's an association for this mouse right here. Like there's an association where these people go to actually congregate and there's more of them. So is there enough of those people for you to build a sustainable business? Because I will tell you, there was a crossroads in my insurance agency where I would have loved to have created a niche based on relationships, referrals, and repeat business with people who did this kind of stuff. I call this promotional products. I call it happy crap is what I call it, but we give out promotional products. And I had a client that owned a promotional products company. And I said, oh, I just love working with you. But I sat down and I crunched the numbers and I was like, there's not enough of you for me to make this a profitable division to focus on energy. And so I chose community associations. I loved working with community associations. And so I created a niche, and my insurance agency did community associations as a niche. We didn't do home and auto because dermatologists make more money than general practitioners. And I believe that you need to be in a lane, you stay in it, and you own it. And so it has to be something that there's more than one person You know, you might not want to build a marketing plan around astronauts because there are not that many of them.
Right.
So that would be that where do you go? Where can you add value in their lives and become a referable resource that they just are attracted to do business with you? Because attracting referrals really shows you the health of your business anyway. I tell people you could ask for referrals if you wanted to, but I believe if you're attracting referrals, you have a healthy, robust, value-added business that is solving problems for people, and you should be receiving referrals if your business is set up properly with gratitude systems and you're serving the client at your highest self.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. I live my life that way, and I totally identify what you're saying. So let's go over the steps. So let's say somebody's listening to us right now. They go, Kim, okay, I got it. So I need to make sure that I have the fun, profitable, and center of influence. And that in order to create relationships, I change my mindset. I am going to, so we talked about ranking the client, ranking your
Ranking the relationship, right?
Ranking relationships. And then what do you do after you rank them?
Well, then what are you going to do for the next 12 months, the next 36 months? How are you going to stay top of mind? How are you going to be unforgettable to that customer and add massive value? That's on you. You have to choose what you're going to do. You're going to choose the touch points. So here's just an example. I do birthday cards in the mail with something of value. This year it's an Amazon card or Starbucks card. I've sent over 1,000. I'll send over 1,000, but let's just say my A relationships is about 100 people. They're going to get a birthday card from me. They're going to get my magazine 6 times a year that I create through my client reminder media. They're going to get a gratitude text or call consistently that I have reminders to do. And then I have private client dinners, you know, or either I'm going to send something of value if they're not close by, or I'm going to connect them. I'm going to see, this is how I show up though, is if I find something, if I know so much about my customer or my relationship, if I see something of value to them, I'm just going to spontaneously connect them or say, here's something of value for you, because this is how I show up. This is how I become and made this a habit. I don't have to really think about it anymore, because what I learned, I went back I lived on an island last year for 2 months. And when I really dug down into what did I want my life to look like moving forward, when I let go of some of these things that weren't serving me any longer. Your business is meant to serve you, not you serving the business. I do believe that. We need to create these lives by design. We didn't become entrepreneurs to recreate the jobs we left or whatever. I mean, that's not what this is.
You're absolutely right.
Right. And so I looked at my parents. They weren't with us anymore. And I was like, so my parents had a very nice life, traveled the world. You know, I had a very nice childhood. How did they really get and keep clients? My parents had clients for over 40 years, the same clients. So how did they do it without technology, right? Because let's just say we never really did technology in the agency. Is that they showed up, they were very available for their clients. They had their home phone number on their business card in 1970. They showed up at the time of claim, which my father would say, if you can't show up at the time of claim and you're an insurance agent, get out of the business. That's what people paid you for. If you can't come to a burned down building of your customers and you can't drive there and you can't take lunch or Dunkin' Donuts and help them through the claim of the navigation, get out of the insurance business. Go do something else. If you don't care about your client enough to sling them an 800 number, go do something else. And my parents kept in touch with their clients throughout the year. See, I call it the fruit basket thing. In November and December, everybody's slinging these gifts to their clients and, oh, I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for you. And I say, let's subtract November and December. I don't recommend sending gifts and be like everybody else. I want you to be unique in a noisy world. And that means that you're going to stay top of mind and care about your client and relationships January through October. So I'm going to encourage someone to have, like, you know, a client experience dinner or something in July, right? Why are we waiting till November when everybody's on the gratitude train? Why don't we do this along the way? And so that's what I teach. And I teach, how can we also add value One of the things that I've done for clients, and I have clients doing this now, and it just makes my soul happy, is let's say I had a big customer and they have employees, and I would call them up and say, you know, I have an ice cream truck vendor and I've secured their 3 dates open in June, and I want to send my ice cream truck guy to your office. And you can use it as an employee appreciation event. You can use it as a customer appreciation event. I just need to know how many people are going to be there, and we're going to pay for it as your insurance agent. And people are like, what? Because and so I did that for a customer, or multiple times. I've done it for more than one. And she was like, just dead silence on the other end. And I was like, are you there? And she's like, I'm here. She said, I've been in this business for like 25 years and no one has thought enough of me to do something at that level for me and my employees. And so it's, how are you leaving them, right? How are you adding value? Because I tell insurance agents, your competition is not Jake from State Farm or the other insurance agent down the street. Your biggest competition is online when your customer cannot remember your name. And I tested this in the hospital with my mother. I had a nurse come in and I'm sitting there with my mom and I have my laptop, because wherever I am, I have my laptop. I live a laptop lifestyle. And I was just doing some work. She's like, oh, what do you do? And I was like, well, I teach people how to keep clients, really. She's like, oh, what do you mean? I said, well, do you buy insurance? Yeah. I said, you have a car or did you drive up on a horse? She's like, no, I have a car. I said, do you pay for auto insurance? She's like, yeah. I said, okay, well, let's just assume that I needed an insurance agent today and I wanted to buy some auto insurance today. I said, could you refer your insurance agent's name to me? And she's like, nope. I have no idea what their name is. So people lose referrals and connections every day because this is what I say. If I don't know your name, I can't look you up in my phone. And that is being lost, my friend. There are millions of dollars lost in the businesses every day because of name recognition. Because the minute an insurance agent places that policy with, like, let's say State Farm or Travelers, the bank draft says Travelers, they're paying Travelers. So within 45 to 60 days, the name recognition of the agent is lost because the name recognition just went to the company.
That is so smart, Kim. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so give us some examples or some more advice to the entrepreneurs that are listening to us right now on how can they apply that principle of gratitude in order to, you know, enhance their lives, make it better in terms of, you know, eventually it will be profitable, as you said, in terms of getting referrals, in terms of customer retention. But how, give me some more examples of that principle of things that you have done. I mean, you mentioned that, you know, you met Bob at Bob Bergen, an event, and then you joined his mastermind and you just apply the principle. And now you're participating with him and Jeff in the conference that they're having live at the end very soon. So give me some examples of what you have done.
So an example of that was I put Bob in my Grow with Gratitude process that I teach and I use, which meant I got to know Bob at a deeper level. I don't know if you are familiar with Harvey McKay's 66 Things You Should Know About a Customer. But I knew about Harvey a long time ago, but I watched, again, my parents really note, and I did this in insurance, we would note accounts of things about our customers that we knew about them beyond insurance or beyond, like, I know my client said, don't drink wine. I know my client said, don't eat gluten. I know my client, what they like. And so what I did
is— How do you find that information though? What do? You just ask?
You have conversations with them and you work it into the conversation. See, a lot of people have gotten away from having discovery calls. See, they have a discovery call with their client before they bring them on, right? The discovery call. Well, something unique that I do is I'm always having discovery calls in year 2, in year 3, in year 4. And I'm constantly talking to my customer about what is going on in their life and business and what is keeping them up at night. I love to call a client and say, hey, I just want to see I know you had some stuff going on, and I might have something like my friend Barry's having a pizza thing going on tonight. So I will reach out to him and say, how's it going? How can I support you? You have to know these things. You have to want to know your customer at a deeper level.
Right.
What we're doing is we're having superficial relationships, and we bring them on and we don't know anything about the customer. We don't know anything about the relationship. We've gotten away from this. Somebody said, what's the best app on your phone? I said, the phone. The phone is my best app. So what I would tell you is I got to know Bob. I connected Bob to a client of mine who does podcasts. I referred him to some other people. I put him on my magazine list. So he started getting my magazine in the mail 6 times a year. I sent Bob a birthday card every year. So we got 2 or 3 birthday cards. I sent him a handwritten thank you note when I figured out he loved Dunkin' Donuts with a Dunkin' Donuts card, which I drove to Dunkin' Donuts and got. And a lot of people would say, well, that stuff's a lot of work. And I said, well, SEO is a lot of work. ClickFunnels is a lot of work. Choose your work. Choose your work. Right. And so I send handwritten. I have a system that sends out cards consistently. I have my magazine get sent out. I do gratitude calls. And so I have my top 100 always. And if you're a fan of The Power of Who by Bob Boudin, who I met at the Brian Buffini Mastermind in 2022 with a really top relationship of mine and customer, he talks about we overthink how many people we need to know to have a profitable, sustainable, and amazing life and business. And if you deepen the relationships with the people that you intentionally identified, you would never look for business because you're going to have genuine influence and attract referrals and a better life. And what we've done is we've gotten away from going to funerals, showing up to weddings, sending the fruit basket when someone dies, sending, like today, I had a customer who had a grumpy client, and I was talking to her, and she said, well, I called him and told him about I said, I'm sorry for the experience. Thank you for the feedback. I said, no, get your credit card out. You're sending an edible arrangement today. She's like, what? I already called him. I said, no, this is grumpy to grateful. You have to go the extra mile and wow them without words that they had in their mind. They had a terrible experience with your company. I said, we're sending the fruit basket right now. Get your credit card out. And I'm going to tell you what to say on the card. And she said, okay, what are we going to say? And so she wants to, some people want to use too many words beyond the gratitude. Like they want to make it about the experience. So here's what I told her. This is a perfect example. So she's got the edible arrangement teed up. And so I said, here's what you're going to say. Thank you so much for telling me about your experience. We appreciate you.
Wow.
And your name. And she's like, oh, but what don't I put? Well, we hope we get your, I said, no, that's about you. If you're going to send a note of gratitude or a gratitude something in the mail, we don't put a business card in the note. We don't make it about whatever experience they had. It is a pure, thank you so much for telling us about your experience. We appreciate you. Your name. That's it. She's like, okay, I would have totally flubbed that up. I said, because we overthink we've got to make too many words, and we just want them to feel so loved, cared, and appreciated that they just feel that you really cared about them beyond this experience they had. That's
You're
it.
absolutely right. I think that is the key, is to make it genuine,
Genuine.
You can't flab if that happens. If it's really real to you, then don't worry about what you say. If it really comes from the heart and you really mean it, that's what matters, because the other person can feel that. I interviewed John Ruhlin. He wrote Giftology.
Yes. Oh yeah, I'm a big fan.
Right? I mean, okay, so big shout out to John. Thank you for
the book is in my closet. Yes. I love it.
And it is all about I'm gonna put that episode in the show notes, because you gotta listen to it, to all of our listeners.
I will. I'm a big fan of his.
Yeah, because it's what you say. It is really all about basically giving gratitude, not because it's now Christmas or a holiday, not because now it's not driven by time, it's driven by your wanting to give gratitude. And it's all about the person that you are giving them something. It's not an advertising for you. So if you give somebody a water bottle, write their name on it, not yours, because they're not a walking advertisement for your company.
Amen. Yes.
Right? Exactly. So it is somebody like, no, somebody knows that I really like pink and purple. Look at this. This is pink. Every time I look at it, I will remember the person that gave it to me because I was important enough for them to find out what I like.
Right, right. So that's where people go wrong. Like I gave up drinking May of last year when I closed on my mother's house. And my closest relationships know this. And my inner circle knows this. And or something they would have given me prior to May 25th. It's not thinking about, it's like me sending something that has gluten in it to a client of mine I know is gluten-free. Like they can't even enjoy it because it's not about them. It was about me. And this is what I say. I mean, this pen, and I tell clients this all the time. I say, you can use promotional products where it's appropriate.
Right.
But I said, I have a gift. I moved recently and I was packed. I love Waterford Crystal. I have loved it since I was young. And so I have this little, it looks like a honey pot, but it was my first piece of Waterford Crystal. It has no logo on it other than Waterford on the bottom. And my friend who I worked with at the time, who is a dear friend of mine, who I don't even really know anymore or talk to 30 years ago, Mark Marinsky gave me that piece of Waterford. It sits in my china cabinet. And my subconscious mind tells me exactly who gave it to me. Every time I pick it up, it doesn't have to have his name on the bottom or his phone number or whatever his picture on it. And people have got to get away from, because I'll have the client, we'll do a whole gratitude re-engagement strategy with their clients because they've ignored them, right? And I don't want people to feel badly that, well, I'm not going to do it. I've never reached out to my clients. Okay, that ship has sailed. No, you can re-engage with your clients if you have ignored them beyond the transaction. There is a strategy for that. And I've had that happen with people. And they'll say, I had a real estate agent in LA and she was like, well, I mean, I just sold him a house. I don't know what good is this going to do. And I said, you know what? If this gratitude action plan doesn't work the way you think it should work, and you don't get the ROI that you think should get, I'll pay for it because I knew it would work. So we structured it and we sent it out. Total gratitude, all of it gratitude, not buy one, get one house. It's not BOGO day. There's nothing salesy about it, right? It's just thank you so much, pure gratitude. And she got 3 listings from that one gratitude reach out in the mail, and it had a gift attached. And she's like, why did that work? And I said, because they forgot about you. You weren't familiar to them. You were an I don't know in the phone. And if they went to a cookout or a barbecue and someone mentioned real estate, or they were talking with their brother and they said, oh, I'm gonna put my house on the market, you were memorable. You became memorable in that moment.
Right.
And she was like, oh. And so she now was a believer, because some people roll their eyes. You're like, oh, I'm going to send gifts in the mail and gratitude. I'm like, yes, we are. I'm not asking you. I'm saying, here's the strategy. You're going to take, I went to lunch yesterday with a client and I gave him a book. And so those 2 things, spending time with them and then giving him something of value to help him do life better, are 2 what Jeff West would call fusion points. And every time you can have more fusion points with your customer or your relationships, you're building trust, you're building the relationship, and they're naturally just feel appreciated. 68% of clients will leave you if they don't feel appreciated. 68%.
I believe it, Kim. Absolutely. That's absolutely. Well, Kim, this has been a great podcast, tons of information. I'm very grateful for you for giving that information, because our listeners should take that information, should actually start executing, and definitely reach out to you. So if they would like to reach out to you, what's the best way to contact you?
They can go to kimangeli.com, which is KIMANGELI, and you can connect with Kim. You can connect with me on Facebook, LinkedIn. I respond to all of it. And my phone number is actually on the saleswiselive.com page for our event. My cell phone number is right at the top right-hand corner. And unless I'm asleep, I will respond, because I believe in responding also builds trust, and communication is key to building trust. Even when it's not something you want to respond with, do it anyway.
Absolutely. And I can attest that you immediately respond. You're always in great communication. Always a pleasure talking to you. So thank you so much for being a guest on this podcast.
Thank you for having me, beautiful.
Thanks for listening to the System Simplified podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.